One of the biggest issues that was on the table is the MTN fine. So what a difference time or the visit will make when you look back to the time when Davengwa, the former chief executive, traveled to Nigeria when that fine was imposed. And of course, you're talking about $3.9 billion US, which is bigger than the annual budget for a lot of African countries from one company alone. And of course, there are issues following the xenophobia when you talk about the complaints from Nigeria about how their citizens were treated in South Africa. Those issues would have been discussed with Malusi Kikaba, who is the minister responsible for Home Affairs issues. There's also the security aspect and what South Africa can do to assist Nigeria in the fight against terrorism. And of course, we know that Mapisa Ngagula was there. And also, I mean, these deals, the trade ones, that Rob Davis would have wanted to wave when he gets back to South Africa and say, we know there are challenges in the economy, electricity and everything, but they have achieved something from the visit to Nigeria.
And of course, as we mentioned earlier, the two leaders are pending their signatures to over 30 bilateral agreements, a lot of them in the areas of trade. Just remind us of some of the more important ones.
Okay, what happens is in 1999 they set up what they call the Bi-National Commission, which looked at the areas where Nigeria and South Africa could cooperate and what the barriers to that are. So the majority of these deals will be specific to areas like agriculture or mining to remove the barriers or anything that can disturb a South African company wanting to come and invest in Nigeria, or South African companies having access to the Nigerian market, or vice versa. We know that Nigeria in particular want to export what you call art, things like the Nollywood. A lot of people within their culture and the media, they want to go to South Africa, and because that's where the market is. But South Africa would want to have access to these areas where there's need to expand. Nigeria is undergoing what you call diversification into the areas that they didn't do before when they were relying on oil. So but all these deals are signed by the various and respective ministers. So the minister, you would expect that the minister responsible for Home Affairs from the South African side, Kikaba, would be talking to the minister responsible for Home Affairs in Nigeria. The two of them get the agreement in place, they sign it, they work out the details, and when they go back home, they work out how the various departments can then implement that in the local policies and the bylaws.
Of course, one area that's very close to the heart of President Buhari is security. Are we likely to see closer cooperation and perhaps more effective cooperation?
That is a given, because South Africa is quite powerful in terms of the military expertise. So you might see a lot of South Africans training people in Nigeria. When you talk about equipment, we don't know what the actual deals are, but there is no running away from the fact that Mapisa Ngagula traveling, they knew they would have planned. Okay, the way it works in diplomacy is this goes on for months, discussions between the various departments. So by the time the presidents come to meet and talk about these things, you are basically talking about
reached agreements.
Yeah, most of the issues have already been discussed and agreed. So the defense policy from South Africa would have accommodated the fact that they want a relationship to assist Nigeria. And don't forget that Nkosazana Zuma is also the chairperson of the AU Commission that has an interest, a direct interest in making sure that Nigeria is successful in fighting Boko Haram.
Tam, thanks very much indeed.